Hello, hello. Today is gonna be kind of a weird shit. so, if you saw my story, I gave you a little bit of a heads up that I would have like a pretty good story time. Um, let's start with this. I am currently house sitting. Um, and obviously you're in a different space. Um, my friends recently bought a new home, and I'm watching their baby. But that being said, I everything has been fine. What it, I've gained a new experience. And I guess I should just get into it, right? So, a couple nights ago, I think it was just past 10:30 because lately 10:30 has been my bedtime. Like I've been in bed. And I remember looking at the clock and being like, this is past my bedtime, but I'm kind of enjoying myself. So, hey. And there was a moment where I felt like I wasn't alone. And that doesn't really happen for me very often. Because even when I meditate and when I'm, opening myself and I am feeling different energies, there's a certain vibration that I'm used to feeling. And in those with those vibrations, there's always a purpose of information to be shared, or information to be shared, or some insight to be gained. And this was not that. And I felt like I wasn't alone, and they have a good sized house, and there's a lot of windows, and there's a lot of windows. There's a lot of big windows, and when you feel like you're not alone, it can be a little unnerving because there's a lot of different areas where someone could be um, observing you through. So in those moments, it's important to always go into, how are you feeling? Are you scared? What is the scared feeling? Scared is um, one thing, but if you go a little bit deeper, are you scared because you don't know? Are you scared because you feel like you're in danger? Are you scared? Like, there's a whole range of what does scared mean. So, scared isn't the right word. It was just more unnerving because even though, as I share about my sensitivities, it's only been in the last like 7, 8 years where I'm now actually accepting them, and I'm allowing these experiences to happen and seeing how they play out. So, I have this moment where I feel like I'm not alone. I'm like, okay, that's a very specific feeling. You know, um, then it was like, I realized that I wasn't necessarily scared because I didn't feel like I was in danger, but it was more unnerving because even though I have these experiences, I'm still very rational. Like, what is happening? Why is it happening? What do I have control over? And what's the whole point of the experience? So, and I was kind of miffed because I was actually having like a really good time, and then it was all like, all right. um, so what happens? I feel like I'm not alone, and then I start being like, okay, what am I feeling? And it felt like an older male energy. And it did not feel like it was trying to engage with me. It didn't feel like, it didn't want me there. It didn't feel hostile. It just felt like it was in passing. And because I first felt it at the end of the hall, and then I felt like there was activity in the garage. And because I kept, the feeling was on one side of the house and then it became on the other. And then I just kept looking at the garage. And to be honest, I didn't want to go open up the fucking garage. Like, no. I'm not interested in like, let's go investigate. I'll investigate what I'm feeling, and I will investigate, the comfort of my space, but you know, I don't need to go searching for shit. So after that, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to bed. And like I said, I wasn't scared. I did not feel like it was trying to engage with me. It just felt very much in passing. So that night though, I'm like, okay, what do I have to gather? I have the home's address, and I know that it was an older male energy. So, um, Google is your friend, and Google can be your friend. Just don't WebMD shit. But but what? So I Google the address. A woman's name comes up, but then her father's name comes up, and her father was the home's original owner. Um, and he passed away. I think it's at 2016. So if I'm so that was all I had. And I know I've been introduced to, basically, all the surrounding neighbors. And one of the neighbors across the street, they're very nice. And I know that they've been here for a while, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask, you know. Um and one of the things that I've gotten a lot better at over the years is that I'm a pretty direct person. Like, if I have a question to ask, it's not coming from a bad place. It's that I'm trying to piece together information, and I was just like, what's the harm? They could always be like, I don't know anything, but why not? So while I was walking the dog, I saw them outside and I said hi. And then I kind of went in. I was also, what can you tell me about, or what did I say? I said, I have a question. And they're like, okay, And then I'm all, what can you tell me about so and so? And, it's to go into like a name and for someone who they just met and they're like, oh shit. Um, and uh, basic we're gonna pause for a second. So what happens for me is that I get like pieces of the puzzle, and I'm trying to be better at, I don't always have to put those pieces together, but because I'm also constantly growing and having these experiences, it's important for me sometimes to get that validation in my experiences, or else, I just, I don't know, I feel like I want that. Do I need it? I don't know. Do I want it? Yeah. Like, it helps me understand, and it gives me more confidence in my experiences, um to be like, it's just legit. So I kind of go in, and instantly they're like, okay. The wife looks over to husband and is like, you should ask him. um, so they're not sure if they can't remember if he passed in the house. Um, I'm going to I would probably say he didn't, because if I remember correctly, California law says that if someone has passed in the house, I think it's within the last 7 years, they have to disclose that to the new homeowners. And that was not disclosed, so I'm going to assume that maybe he passed in the hospital. But one thing is certain is that this was his final home. Um, And it wasn't anything tragic. It wasn't, and I didn't feel anything like tragic, or anything. It, like I said, it was just a very much in passing, feeling. So I'm like, okay, well, it explains, older male energy, um, and this being his home. And it's important to say I didn't feel like I was intruding in on his space. I didn't feel like, he didn't want me here. There was no engagement. Just, he went from one area to the house to another. So finally, I talked to my girlfriend, and I'm all, so everything is fine, everything is great. I will say that, I had an experience, so I kind of tell her, and in her, she's someone who is a very rational, and um I because I'm such a, outspoken processor, especially with my inner circle. I'll share, like, it is what it is. And you can be weirded out, fine, welcome to my world. I'm the one that has to deal with this shit. So as I'm like explaining to her, I was all like, yeah, and I was like, I didn't want to go in the garage, and that's where it was. And she's like, that's there's a photo of him in there. And I'm like, you know, um, okay, why? you know, and because he was the original owner and he's the one that had this house built, he has the original floor plans in there, and it was requested that his photo, with his late wife, be kept with the original floor plans, and it stays with the house. And she's like, yeah, it's over like in such and such area. So it was just an interesting, piece of information. And she's like, that's some fucking weird ass shit. She's like, I've never felt anything. It's like, you know but it just says something to for some of us who are sensitive, and sometimes when we pick up on stuff, you know with doing a little bit of digging, and there's not anything that I really need to do with this information. Like, I don't feel like I'm being asked of anything. Um, Nothing was engaging. It was just what I was picking up and sharing space with something else, someone else, whatever word you want to use. But doing a little bit of digging, and just going, gathering pieces of the puzzle, putting it together, and just something interesting. So, um, yeah, that's my story time. Hopefully nothing else, develops from that. If there's any type of experiences I would prefer to have, this is probably one of them. It's not anything, bad. I don't have to do anything with it. I don't feel like, it's trying to communicate or engage, or I don't feel like I'm intruding in on their space, which is, great. So yeah, just if you pick up on something, if you feel it, you're probably not crazy. Trust those instincts, and we're all learning, right? I don't know. Have a good day. Bye.